Thank you so much for joining us today. And welcome to today's webinar, Trends in Business Analysis. My name is Katie, and I'm a program manager here at McMaster Continuing Education, and we're so excited to have you join us. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we reside. McMaster University recognizes and acknowledges that it is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee Nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, I'm joined by our guest speakers, Chris Hocus, Jonathan Nittuk, James Green, Tendai Chakabuda, and Leah Speltore. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speakers, most of whom are instructors here for the Business Analysis program at McMaster Continuing Education. To begin with, Chris Hocus is an information technology professional with over 20 years of experience, with roles spanning across software development, systems analysis, business analysis, process improvement, and project management. He's been teaching postgraduate courses for over 6 years. Chris is a project management professional and holds numerous certifications, including IIBA's Agile Analysis certification. Next, Jonathan Nittuk is a business technology leader with diverse skills in business analysis, project management, continuous improvement, data management. Jonathan has been teaching these topics at post-secondary institutions for the past 12 years. Jonathan also holds certifications such as an MBA in Management Analytics, as a project management professional, and a certified business analysis professional. Moving on to Jim. Jim Green is currently the Vice President of Telco, Agency and Media, TAM Group at Environics Analytics, the largest predictive analytics firm in Canada. His role is to develop products suitable for these organizations, especially for the fast emerging programmatic field. In all, Jim has spent 30 years working with data in the media industry. Jim is also an instructor for our data analytics program here at MCE. Tendai is a certified business analysis professional with over 15 years of experience in the business analysis profession. She holds a master's degree in information systems, is a certified Scrum Master, and a certified Scrum Product Owner. She is extremely passionate about business analysis and has a special interest in mentorship and development of young aspiring business analysts. And last but certainly not least, Leah Speltore is a National Account Manager for the International Institute of Business Analysis, or IIBA, representing all of Canada, Southwestern and Southeastern USA. The span of her career being dedicated to corporate and government enterprise account management. Leah is focused on the development and growth of our Canadian and US business analysis community, business analysis practice, and ecosystem. No stranger to IIBA, through a previous role, Leah spent several years as a team lead for one of our endorsed education providers. Now, with those introductions, I'll pass things over to our first speaker, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. All good? Thumbs up? Cool. Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. And one of the things that I always come across when we talk about business analysis, a lot of people get a little caught up on the title itself. Oh, well, I haven't been a business analyst before. I'm really unsure if, I have the experience to qualify for a particular role. But the more that I have conversations with people, the more I realize we have so much business analysis experience in the room. And so I often find that students that I do encounter, when they say I haven't been a business analyst before, they normally actually do. And foundationally, at least at minimum, when people walk away from this session, I really hope that you start to see that you're probably more of a business analyst than you think. So when you baseline the actual definition, if you are doing anything that involves enabling change and delivering value, I would absolutely argue that you are doing business analysis activities. And so even in your personal life, if you've solved a problem, if you're trying to figure out how you can do things better, all of those foundationally revolve around creating value. And that's what business analysis is all about. And so as we talk about these different trends, I want to walk you through some different perspectives of where you might see business analysis happening today. So the first one is uh, customer and user experiences. So these two things are absolutely critical and common in a lot of businesses today, being able to enhance and be customer centric and focused. And so when you think about anything that involves your experiences, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's a car dealership, wherever you're going, you're probably going to notice a lot more elevated personalized experiences, especially with the data component that we'll be talking about later today. A lot of this drives a lot of the personalized experiences that you may encounter. The other thing as well is when we talk about problem solving, we live in a day and age today where we're very obsessed with just getting things done faster. I would say, even our patience levels for things to solve a problem becomes less and less. I don't know how many people here have kept track of their user manuals, but nowadays I don't necessarily want to rely on a manual to read and navigate through to solve a problem. You want information fast. And so being able to enable efficient problem solving is definitely absolutely a realm of business analysis, or something that business analysis enables. Feature improvements. This is something where, the competitive landscape for all business, whatever industry that you're in, there's always opportunities to improve. And without business analysis, it's really, really tough to be able to enable that. And so thinking about things in different lenses, trying to find ways where you can improve something, requires a sense of holistic thought and thinking, and critical thinking, problem solving ability, and a myriad of just different types of skills that I can probably guarantee a lot of you already have a foundational level of, to be able to create and improve things. And then all of that really leads into this ingrained, when you do get into that space of this intuition around business analysis, that proactivity just naturally follows. And so if you have an inclination where anything in your life that you're like, hey, you know what, we can probably do this better, or you know what, maybe we can, I heard about this technology, maybe we can incorporate that. You have all the makings of really, foundationally building upon your business analysis competencies. The other pieces here is, I really love customer journey mapping. I think it's a great technique, and some of you probably, have crossed paths with it in some way. And so if you look at a journey of anything, whether it's your car buying experience and how you navigate that, and you compare it to other experiences, if you've been to the Apple store, and, that really customer-centric focus of just trying to, the purchase an electronic device, mapping that journey of when a customer walks into a store until they achieve that end outcome, that requires business analysis. It requires a lot of questions, feedback, collaboration, all the things that we teach in this program. So feedback analysis is another way to enable that as well. So all of these are ingrained in foundationally building upon improved customer and user experiences. The other thing you'll probably hear a lot of as a trend is you might see some roles out there, even large companies, talking about transformations. And when we talk about transformations, I found these, I tried to find three relatable use cases in very distinct industries. And so on the next slide, you'll see that three companies that you may be familiar with, IKEA, Lego, and Porsche. I won't dive in too deep, but I definitely want to introduce how business analysis really shapes and influences what they've done transformatively. When you think about digital transformations, I just want you to think about, you're looking at a current state, or you're, in an existing state of something, and you're transforming to something completely different. And, with IKEA, they've really transformed just a shopping experience. And for those of you that aren't familiar with IKEA, they're very well known for, making furniture, affordable furniture, creating that buying experience when you walk into their store, you're really feeling out, okay, this is how this may potentially look in my home. And so they developed actually very personalized shopping experiences, leveraging augmented reality to create an experience where you don't necessarily need to actually be in the store to experience what it may look like. And a transformation like that, to create a technology like that, absolutely requires business analysis to navigate, get different perspectives from a customer, and just really navigate that journey. Lego has really evolved, back in my day playing Lego to versus now, where, they're really introducing, a mobile game sector, 3D printing, really enhancing just that digital experience of how you can interact with Lego. And then Porsche, when you look at the car industry in general, there's so many touch points with customers how you interact with a customer, how do you engage feedback, how can you elevate their experiences, especially when their evolution of the psyche of a customer is really lesser on the patient side, and I want to see results now. And so they've done a lot to really look at their processes and really see where they can incorporate digital aspects to really elevate and increase customer satisfaction. And the last one that I'll talk about today, and something I'm very passionate about, is entrepreneurship. For those of you in the room that have dabbled in entrepreneurship, have thought about starting a business, want to start a business, to me, I would say absolute top 3 skill to have for sure is business analysis. You need to be able to look at things holistically. There's so many things that you have to look at strategically that business analysis enables. So things like market analysis, the actual processes to really explore different markets of the industry that you're looking to get involved in. The skills and techniques that you can leverage from business analysis to extract that information is huge. Finding opportunities. Business analysis absolutely enables that, because that could really take you down a path of exploring possible outcomes, different opportunities, collaboration moments. All these things can really help elevate your entrepreneurship. The risk, there's always risk in entrepreneurship. Business analysis absolutely enables you to navigate that space and to kind of find out, how do you mitigate a risk, minimize risk, or even leverage positive risk to elevate opportunities in your business. And then ultimately find even ways to optimize resources. There's so many resources that are involved in any kind of business that business analysis can really get you to look at things in a different lens, to find efficiency opportunities, to do things better, to do things efficiently, to do things with a green mentality, sustainability. So ultimately, the outcome in all of these things, when you're leveraging that business analysis skill set in entrepreneurship, is allowing you to really make data-driven strategic decisions, getting you to be a lot more agile, which we'll talk about later today, and ultimately achieve that level of sustainability where you can have that continuity and predictability, and ultimately, accomplish what you want to accomplish in your business. So yeah, that's my trend.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Nittuck. It's a lucky day. I chose my sweater today. I ended up with McMaster colors for my sweater. So yeah, not intentional, I'll be honest, but yeah, a good coincidence and a happy day. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. My trend that I'm going to talk about is business analysis in a data analytics setting. So we hear a lot about data in these times. We heard, James's experience and the customers that he's working with. And, open every news story and you're hearing about, different things that different organizations are doing with data analytics. And business analysis is a really important part of success in data analytics. So this diagram comes from our IIBA Guide to the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, which we tend to just call BABOK as a shorter name for that. And I'm not going to go through this whole document or whole diagram, but at a kind of very high level, when we think about analytics, you have your data sources. So you have data from all of these different places, from external systems, internal systems, from your own sources and your own systems. But those are usually not designed for you to do analytics and really support decisions with that, which is one of the most common uses of data in an analytics setting, is to support make informed decisions. So we transform that data, we manage the quality of that data, we take it into some other storage mediums and that are designed a little bit differently, like data warehouses and data marts, and then we proceed with this decision support. This is a kind of a new-ish setting, not entirely new. Some of these technologies have been around since the 70s and 80s and for a long time. Some of them are very new, as we all know. But there's certainly a big resurgence or a big trend right now in terms of data analytics and organizations trying to leverage that. So this is kind of a newish setting, but in this setting, we have kind of an old problem or an old opportunity. And that's, where maybe business analysis is going to come in. So the setting that we have here really is about the people that are involved in this work. So you have, data analytics professionals, data scientists, data engineers, whatever, many different titles there, data analysts. And these individuals have a technical focus. They have some very specialized skills. They know Python. They know, Panda. They know all of these technologies and all of these things. They use complex techniques that the average person is maybe not familiar with. Along with that comes a certain jargon and language, right? They have a way of conversing with one another. They have things that they're familiar with. And they've achieved a lot, right? In the sense of like, they've learned all of this stuff. And we all only have so many hours in the day, and we can only create competency in so many areas. And so one of their maybe weaker points is they tend, as a trend, to not maybe have the greatest understanding of business issues, because that's not their job. They've got enough to worry about and things that they're focused on. On the opposite side, we have the business stakeholder. So this could be anyone, right? It could be somebody in marketing. It could be somebody in operations, somebody in customer service, an entrepreneur, somebody in all of these different areas, right? Their focus is their customer, their market, their team. Those are the things that they're thinking about. They operate in a complex environment as well. In it from a business sense, right? They have competitors. They have all of these things that they're thinking about. They also have their own jargon and language, right? Their own industry terms, their own acronyms, and all of those kinds of things. And same comment, there's only so many hours in the day for somebody to learn different things. These business stakeholders have a certain focus and a certain understanding. And maybe the downside of that is, they don't have as much technical understanding of all of these data analytics things. So what I'm saying here is this reminds me a lot of an old problem that we've had for a long time. If you took what's on the left side here of data analytics professional and you replace that with IT professional, the whole rest of the slide would stay the same, right? And for a long time, we've had IT professionals that are technology focused, low in business understanding, and business professionals, business focused and low in technology understanding. It's really the same situation. And it's the same situation in a new setting. And so we're going to have the same solution to this problem. We need to create a bridge between those two groups. And that bridge is the business analyst, right? So the business analyst has a combination of technical skills and understanding and business skills and understanding. They have a strength and focus on their communication skills, being able to work with these two groups and develop common understanding amongst them. And they also have an awareness of best practices, approaches, methodologies, things like agile, those kinds of things, project management, those kinds of things about how do you structure this kind of work, and they bring those things to the table. So although this is a very new setting, we have the very same solution. I've led analytics teams before. Every great analytics team has a business analyst on the team, or they have business analysis competencies built into some of the different roles that they have. You really can't do data analytics without business analysis, because you have the same challenge and therefore you have the same solution. So finally, I just want to talk about 3 ways that a business analyst can add value in a data analytics setting. It kind of in a more specific way here. So first of all is the underlying data. So all of that source data, how is it defined? For example, what is a customer? If my always example is if I take a flight with my wife and my daughter and I pay with my credit card, how many customers are there? 1 customer or 3 customers? What does it mean? And how is it counted? That's obviously going to make a very big difference on how all of these numbers shake out. So the glossary and the data dictionary, these are tools that business analysts make use of. Data quality, making sure that the data is fit for use, using process diagrams and non-functional requirements. Presenting data, so how do we visualize data? That to me is a prototyping activity. So these are all techniques that we find in the Babok guide and that we talk about. And then finally, as I mentioned, like your project approach. So your elicitation skills, your communication skills, engaging different stakeholders, being organized and following a methodology. These are all things that a business analyst, are techniques that a business analyst can bring to a data analytics setting. Thanks so much. And I'm passing it to Jim, I believe.
Okay. Thanks very much, Jonathan. I want to talk a little bit about performance and satisfaction in a hybrid environment. And again, we all remember 2020, for better or worse. COVID struck and a lot of things changed very, very quickly. The work environment became decentralized. There were a lot of things that changed in the social environment as well. And as a result, we now find ourselves working for the most part in a hybrid environment. I'm speaking to you from Plainfield, Ontario, just north of Belleville. And I know my colleagues are sort of scattered around the Southern Ontario area. So this is a great example. How can we keep things together when we're physically apart? Well, it's a very straightforward answer, and one that's been around for a long time. The answer really is clear communication. And I've got 5 examples here of how to maintain that clear communication between management and associates. Regardless of location, a structured approach to communication is important for any management team. So we establish a robust framework that'll allow all of our associates and managers to know where they are, what they're doing, where they're going, individually and as a team. That really is the solution. And the way we can do it is implement any of these tools, and there's many more as well. So dynamic goal setting, where we have team-oriented goals that drive actions, align everyone on the team to the larger goals. They have their own individual goals, but also they have larger team goals. And teams actually can fit into organization goals as well. Another one is the OKR framework, objectives and key results. Much the same thing, really. Goals are set based on common factors, again, down to, sorry, I shouldn't say it that way, at the individual level, and then building up to the organization level. KPIs, I think that's a pretty common acronym now, key performance indicators. It helps everyone in the organization understand, again, what the goals are, what the objectives are, how they can measure their own progress against their specific goals, but again, also through the team, they can measure progress over time, watch what's happening in terms of getting the key results, and then merge those results with different departments, again, to develop an organizational untangle, or rather, stop, there we are, to reach the organization's objective. There, got it. Again, transparent communication, okay? It's vital for businesses to survive, okay? We talk on a regular basis through, various technologies, Zoom, Teams, and so on, but we also have an understanding of what's required at the base, and that really is, again, important. Progress through over time is important, but we have to understand where we are now and what we're attempting to achieve over the course of the next period, whether it's month, quarter, year, and so on. And finally, we have some tools that make it fairly easy to stay in touch. Desk booking software for true hybrid environments, where you have a sort of a hotel environment where there is no designated space in the office, but people can come and go as they please, just reserving a spot in the office. Space management software, the same thing. Things like Google Docs, where you have collaborative authorship of documents. Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and things like Slack, Loom, and so on, all make it easy to develop a strong communications strategy and tactics that will enable organizations, to reach their objectives. So again, these are examples of the processes that organizations use, okay? But again, by clearly stating objectives, associates have a clear picture of their progress. They can adjust accordingly without intrusive sort of managing, okay? Again, it's more up to the individual in an environment like this, okay? But that does tend to lead to autonomy and greater satisfaction. The other topic I wanted to talk about was the pressure on organizations to ensure social responsibility, and I think we've seen a lot of that in the news over the last couple of years, particularly. There is a great deal of discussion around the behavior of certain corporations, and corporations generally. Again, a major shift in the business environment. Up until recently, say in the last, let's say 10 years, an organization's primary task was to develop profits and to give a good return to investors. But concern for the environment, political issues, some societal issues generally have increased over time. Organizations have to respond to this. There has to be a more balanced approach to their activities. So as a result, we have CSR, corporate social responsibility, has become an important consideration for any organization that wants to enjoy a good reputation and to, develop its corporate conscience, I guess we could say. So again, here's a few, okay? Public opinion, media scrutiny. We've all seen this, okay? There's a lot of pressure on companies to engage in CSR and to ensure that they are behaving responsibly in the greater sense of the word. Some organizations have received some really terrible PR as a result of their business practices, and as a result have seen fading revenues. Activist campaigns, I think everyone's familiar with Greta Thunberg, the Swedish activist in climate change. Okay, she's putting for a 21-year-old, she's been very successful in putting a lot of pressure on governments and corporations in terms of climate change and the environment. What stakeholders expect as well. Again, stakeholders are not one-dimensional. They have, concerns about other issues, global warming, climate change, human rights, and so on. And so stakeholders can become, or have become, very vocal in terms of these issues and have demanded more corporate responsibility in these areas. Consumer investor demands, much the same thing. There's a boycott going on right now for one of Canada's major grocery chains as a result of certain issues that they are facing and have been accused of. And so again, demanding change, okay, and are actively looking to make change. In terms of reputation, again, the same sort of idea. Social pressure can result in better social performance. Nike is a good example of this. They became an industry leader back in the 1990s, so almost 30 years ago, or perhaps more than 30 years ago, in promoting working conditions for their apparel factories, footwear factories in Asia. And there's many other examples like that. And then finally, although in some cases corporate social responsibility is sort of seen as a necessary evil, it can be a creative opportunity to strengthen the business relationship with their business partners, with consumers, and with the general public. So again, some organizations, forward-thinking organizations, think about CSR as central to their overall strategy and helping them grow and develop as organizations. So with that, I'll turn things over to Tunde.
Great. Thank you so much, James. Okay, so the last trend that I'm going to chat about is Agile. And before I go into the nitty-gritties, I always think it's always nice to show some interesting statistics, right? To see why Agile, this methodology, has gained so much traction, attention, I think since early 2000s when the Agile Manifesto was launched, right? So digital.ai is where I got these statistics. They document experiences of more than 3,000 business and IT professionals. And you can see one of the top reasons, right, for adopting Agile is really the ability to manage changing priorities. I think change, ever since 2020, I think we've all seen that change is one of the only things that's always going to be constant, it's always going to be there, right? So Agile really allows teams to adapt quickly to changing requirements and priorities. You can see another interesting statistic statistic there, project visibility, right? So a benefit of adopting Agile really is around transparency, right? Throughout the project lifecycle, regular iterations and frequent communication, right? Business and IT alignment was also a third kind of like benefit for adopting Agile. So really creating that close collaboration, right, between business and IT teams, involving stakeholders early and often, right? That is what Agile is all about, as well as delivery speed and team morale, right? Agile teams are empowered to make decisions, they collaborate closely, they work, they take ownership. So really some interesting statistics on Agile that are really going to launch into the nitty-gritties. So going on to the next slide, right? Before we go into Agile business analysis, right, let's understand what Agile truly is, and perhaps equally important, right, what it is not. I think the term Agile has been thrown around, but its true meaning and application, right, can sometimes be misunderstood. So on this slide, you can see what Agile really is versus what it is not, right? So it's best described as a mindset, right? It's a mindset that guides the way work is approached. It's not anything that's prescribed, right? It's not prescription telling you to follow specific events and processes, right? It's really a mindset. It's iterative, it's incremental, it's measuring our process and continuous improvement over a fixed plan, right? It's really collaborative. You're working in teams, you're working with a business, right? It's not a silver bullet. It's flexible, it's adaptive, right? It's customer-centric, right? And there's really empirical process control. So really clarifying what Agile is and what it is not, right? So now moving on to what is Agile business analysis, right? I've gotten this definition out of the BA box. Someone did mention that, you know, the business analysis body of knowledge is where we reference most of our work as business analysis professionals, right? So you can see it's really defined as an Agile mindset. And I think to look at what an Agile mindset is, it's really good to look at the Agile Manifesto, right, which really highlights key values, right, for Agile in general, which is individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right, really emphasizing the importance of people, their interactions, right, over solely relying on processes and tools, right, working with software over comprehensive documentation, right? Really prioritizing delivering working software that meets the customer needs over extensive documentation, right? Customer collaboration, right? Really collaborating with customers throughout the development process, right? Over negotiating contracts that specify requirements, for example, in detail, right? And really responding to change over following a plan, right? All speaking about flexibility, responsiveness to change, right? Over anything that's very rigid. Right. So going to an Agile mindset, I like this diagram because it really shows you the difference between a traditional BA mindset and an Agile BA mindset, right? I'm going to focus on the Agile BA mindset, really starting with I can expect change, right? So as Agile BAs, we anticipate, we embrace change throughout the project lifecycle, right? Understanding that our requirements may change, they may evolve over time, right? We do just enough, just in time. What does that mean, right? So we avoid over documentation, right? We just focus on delivering the right amount of documentation and analysis at the right time, right? Really different from the traditional BA mindset, which is big design upfront, right? We focus on customer value, right? We wear the customer hat, we identify, we prioritize requirements that will have the most significant impact on the customer and the end user, right? There's a role of a product owner in an Agile team whose role really is to maximize the value of the product, right? We value conversations as well as collaboration, right? We want to have open communication within the team, within our stakeholders, right? We want to promote a shared understanding of whatever we're building, right? As well as the requirements. And then we promote an incremental approach. I think I've mentioned this before, right? Making sure we're delivering working solutions and working often, right? And now going on to embracing an Agile mindset in business analysis. These principles that you can see here are taken out of the Agile extension to the BA box version 2, right? These 7 principles, see the whole, think as a customer, etc., really highlighting what those specific values as an Agile BA you're meant to have, right? So seeing the whole really taken from the discipline of systems thinking, right? Interconnectedness, right? Thinking as a customer, right? How do you incorporate the voice of the customer, right? How do you actively seek customer feedback throughout your sprints, right? As you're delivering your functionality, right? How do you analyze to determine what is valuable, right? So continuously assessing and prioritizing your work to make sure that you're delivering the most valuable features first, right? Getting real using examples, that's all about building a shared understanding, right? Using real world examples, prototyping, mock-ups, right? A lot of different techniques and tools that are specified in the BA box that you can use, right? Understanding what is doable, right? Realizing what constraints you have. Those could be technological constraints, resource availability, or time, which is always one of those things, right? Stimulating collaboration and continuous improvement and avoiding waste, right? Those are really key things around agile business analysis, right? And then going into finally the agile, how do you go about embracing an agile mindset, right? As a business analyst, I've just listed here practical steps for you, right? Break down requirements into small manageable chunks, which is important, right? Always put the end users at the center of your analysis process. Ultimately, you're defining or you're developing something for your end users, your customers, right? Be open to change. You've seen from the values, you've seen from the mindset, from the principles, right? It's all about being open to change, right? Also, stay informed about industry trends, right? Emerging technologies, as well as best practices. And definitely, we do have agile principles as a course, BAN 107. We should be starting soon, so I think they will speak to that. But it's really a great course for you to go into detail and understand what agile is all about. All right, that's all on my side. I'll hand over to Leah. Leah, over to you.
Hi, everyone. So I wanted to have a conversation. I know that we have certifications that we put forward, but what does a certification mean to you when you don't know the global entity of who it comes from? So we are a global not-for-profit organization. We were really built to serve the business analysis professionals around the globe. So we expand the thought process in business analysis, and as global leaders are able to really maintain the standards for ongoing development of the practice. So as we look at the next slide, our presence right now, this is just a little bit of what we're seeing as the BABOK guide was created for, was really to, it provides techniques. There are also knowledge areas, there's tasks, underlying competencies that are relevant to conducting good business analysis. And the primary purpose of it really is to provide at least a set of commonly accepted principles and practices. So it helps practitioners to be able to discuss and provide people with that work and employability in business analysis and to function as creators. So as we move on to the next slide, the value of business analysis can be seen in many practices. We say that it's not prescriptive, and there's really, back in the day, we talk about business analysis as the profession. In the title, that's what it is. And we've really kind of stepped away from that. We work all across different types of organizations that are involved with anything like defining strategy. We're moving on to enterprise architecture and even taking leadership roles, just to name a few, HR, as we go on from that. So they have the specialized knowledge areas as well. And it is foundational for being able to understand what the customer would want, ensuring that projects really do be set up to succeed. Better quality decision-making, all values of business analysis. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. You all, probably my esteemed colleagues on the call, are even more in depth with that. But really, you know, many other objectives as to the value of business analysis. If we can move on to the next slide. The trends in the global market that we're seeing have become so widespread. There's different areas. There's IT, there's business management professionals. This infographic is just a couple of industries and that we're seeing that have business analysis as key top of mind. There is much more than this, guaranteed. So if we could just move on to, what is it to get certified? What does it bring? Why is there that importance to it? What's different today from what it was before is that now when we look at certifications, if we could just slide over to the next one, we see that at least those people that are holding on to one or more certifications through IIBA, they have higher salaries. They're also really feeling that they're good in what they're doing. These certifications provide them with a sense of accomplishment. And as well as that, just higher career satisfaction in general. We do have 7 certifications at IIBA as we speak right now, identifying the first 3 as the core certifications. We're going to get into that in just a little bit as we progress, but knowing that this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is how I'm able to demonstrate my skills as a professional, really speak to that need for certification. We've also found trends coming up that many employers look to have certification through IIBA in business analysis. If we can move forward. So I mentioned that we have 3 core and that we have 4 specialty certifications. And what these are saying is really just who should be applying, what type of work experience, if any. Is it going to have a requirement for knowledge areas and expertise, references, what is required of you? So the entry certificate in business analysis is really providing foundational knowledge for those of working in environments like functional managers. If you're managing a team of BAs, very relevant information in anything that you do, even with myself and in account management, having that knowledge of really being able to interact with organizations as well as different stakeholders. Foundational knowledge is key. The other 2, talking about CBAP and CCBA, the certificate and capabilities in business analysis is twofold, as is our CBAP, which is certified business analysis professional. There is an element of learning that you would get from your education. There's also another element of work experience. Now, if we can move forward into the specialties, we have 4. 1 in agile analysis, 1 in business data analytics, product ownership analysis, as well as cybersecurity. So 2 of these specialty certifications do have a recertification element to it, but it's really for, as you can see from these slides, professionals working within that professional space, like cybersecurity, if agile as well. And of course, all IIBA certifications are knowledge-based. They are multiple choice as well. So that's basically what I had to present in that regard. I'm always available to speak with anyone who would like more information about IIBA. My details are there in the body of this last slide, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Thank you so much to our presenters for your very informative presentations. And I do want to extend a very, very big thank you to our speakers today. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And you know where to find us at either the program account, which is mceban@mcmaster.ca. That's a specific program account to reach the program directly, or through our website at continuing.mcmaster.ca. And we would be glad to assist. Thank you once again, everybody, for your attendance today. It's greatly appreciated. I've had a great time hearing all these presentations and learning more about business analysis. And we hope to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.